All right, ladies and gentlemen. We're missing one. He'll be back in just a moment, I bet. There he is. Okay, we're returning from the executive meeting. And do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, move to approve the recommendation of the litigation counsel.
Thank you. Thank you. You got the second? Okay, good. We have a motion and we have a second. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, thank you very much. It was unanimous. Okay. I'm sorry? Of course. Thank you, Mr. Ryan. You took the words right out of my mouth. So, thank you very much for all your help. Thank you. Okay, we're going to reconvene into open session. And we already took the action, so it is now 6:58. And all in favor of adjournment of the special meeting?
So moved.
Good. Great. Okay, here we go. Regular city council meeting tonight, starting at 7 o'clock. I call the City of Castle Hills City Council meeting together April 12th, 2026 to order and determine whether a quorum is present. A quorum is present. We will have the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. Before we get into acknowledgments and presentations, it was pointed out to me this evening that, we are streaming live on YouTube and also on Ustream. And presentations. Diane, will you please introduce the acknowledgments and the presentations, please?
Educate the public and to recognize excellence in the application of rainwater harvesting systems in Texas. The entries are judged on the following: demonstration of how the rainwater harvesting system has helped conserve surface water and/or groundwater, demonstration of how the system has benefited the environment without itself adversely impacting the environment, and uniqueness of the system. I would ask David Lewis to please come forward. Our own resident, David Lewis, created 18,000 gallons of watertight storage space for harvesting structural gravel for fill and brought it to grade with the garage using concrete. The void spaces management and rainwater harvesting. Mayor Howe, would you please present David Lewis a certificate of recognition from the city for this all-impressive award?
I could tell you some stories on that, but we're here to be serious tonight, and we're here to honor David. The City of Castle Hills recognized David Lewis, owner of Aquabank Incorporated, who was recently awarded the 2015 Texas Rain Catcher Award for the Texas Water Development Board. Aquabank was recognized for the innovative design for underground storage of the combination of stormwater collection and rainwater harvesting beneath a residential driveway. The captured water will be used through a drip irrigation system at the resident's home to provide that of residential applications, but can also be incorporated in commercial buildings, parking lots, and even large areas, often not considered for water conservation, such as football fields. David, as the mayor of Castle Hills, Timothy Howell, I present you with this award.
Thank you so much.
You bet. I'm going to trade. There's one for each of the council members. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I'm going to say, this is 30 seconds.
Sure. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I really appreciate that the city of Castle Hills recognizes the need for rainwater harvesting. And it certainly came up in our project on 101 Hibiscus, where we had impervious coverage. Making that ordinance here soon.
I'll do that as soon as you give me my first grade girlfriend back. Oh, no. David took my first grade girlfriend, and we have recently been in touch, and she said it was a good move for her, so I thank you very much.
He bring us something to see? Yes? Goody, goody. We should tell the Joneses.
Well, our congratulations to David. The next thing on the agenda is an update on the street maintenance plan. In case you have not noticed, the notice to proceed has been issued to Easy Bell Construction, and work has begun on the In addition, we have posted the construction schedule on the website. Right now, we are on West Castle from South Winston to West Avenue. We suspect that's going to take 46 days. It actually started yesterday. Well, moving on along. Can we go to the next slide? Okay. On West Castle, we are replacing a new 8-inch water main down the middle of the street. We are abandoning an existing 6-inch and 2-inch water main, and we're doing mill and overlay in the street with a new hot mix asphalt riding surface. This is what we're going to be doing on West Castle. We're going to be doing utility work for 28 days. Then they're going to be doing testing for 5 days. All of this information is also on our website. We're going to do the tie-ins to the water. It'll take 2 days. And then the $33 days. We've got Adobe West Avenue to Roundup, 40 days. Gladiola from Jackson Keller, Dandelion's misspelled, Dandelion, 24 days. Danube, Jackson Keller to Herwick Drive will take 48 days. So, as you can see, there's a lot of work to be done around town. Included went out and talked with the affected residents. Because of the age of some of our city's infrastructure, there will be these types of issues. Easy Bell has responded in a very professional manner and kept us informed in a very timely manner. One thing I would like to remind council, as Councilman Paul has reminded me on more than one occasion, is that we need to get our drainage issues from north of the city addressed. These drainage issues must be addressed as we move forward on fixing our streets, only to be flooded and the wear and tear on the streets that this causes. Also, if you did not know, a 12-year-old was killed last week walking to school around 7:30 in the morning at West Avenue and Mount Tipton, First Light east of Lock Hill Selma and West Avenue. This is another reason we must be vigilant about the entire West Avenue and Lock Hill Selma area. The mayor and I have a meeting with folks from San Antonio this week and will once again wave our flag about our flooding issues. We will continue to keep the public informed as we move along with the streets and infrastructure repairs.
Can I make one comment on that?
Yes, sir.
You know, thank you for bringing that up as, in regards to the flooding, Diane. Coming out in the North News and the North Side, there's an article.
The
sorry,
local.
The local, yes, thank you. There's an article that's coming out specifically about those flooding issues. And resident Mr. Don Rochelle has been very proactive in getting that article out on the front page of that newspaper. So I'm glad to see residents out there trying to lobby for behalf of our city. He was also at the zoning meeting and helped with, I think, was one of the people. Our city too. So we all need to take note of that, and I want everybody to hear that we need to be looking forward in that regard too. So, thank you, Dan.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, do you want me to move forward, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, now we're going to have some fun. Fiesta Castle Hills. You'll meet her later in just a few minutes. The event is open to the public, and we hope to see everyone there. I would like to ask this year's chairman for Fiesta Castle Hill, a fun run and walk. At 10 a.m., we will have our community parade. From 11 to 5, we will have food booths, arts and crafts, and the children's area. At 3:30, we will have the Pooch Parade. And I understand there's a dance that I didn't put on here at 4 o'clock. A dance party. Okay, so we're going to have a dance party also at 4 o'clock. 4 to 5. Till it's over. And it might go late into the night.
Hula hoops, limbo poles, you name it. Rock and roll, Motown.
On behalf of the city, I would like to personally thank Richard and Marianne Weezar spectacular event. I would like to ask the team that Denise has assembled to please come forward.
My team. I have some team back there.
As Fiesta Castle Hills Day.
Okay, this proclamation is coming from the Office of the Mayor, City of Castle Hills. Whereas Fiesta Castle Hills was founded in 2010 by the Castle Hills residents, Richard and Marianne Weezar, who envisioned uniting the City of Castle Hills community and residents, businesses, churches, and schools, civic organizations, and city officials through family-friendly community fiesta type of an event in Castle Hills. Whereas the 7th annual Fiesta Castle Hills will be held on Saturday, April 16, 2016, and feature a business organizations with the parade Grand Marshal of City Hills resident, Eveline Moore. Whereas Fiesta Castle Hills has steadily grown in participation and attendance and has become a much appreciated annual event in the city of Castle Hills. Now I, Timothy A. Howell, Mayor of the city of Castle Hills, do hereby proclaim Saturday, April 16th, 2016, as Fiesta Castle Hills Day. Signed this day, the 12th, April 12th, 2016. Thank you so much.
Marshal. This year's Grand Marshal is a centenarian born on November 21st, 1914. I would venture to say that she's the oldest living resident in Castle Hills at 101 years old. She resides at 102 Caladium, where she moved in 19.
The state of Texas trusts me, maybe you can too.
I trust you.
Here you go, Jeremiah.
Okay. Let's do our. And turn this
Let's
will
give
go
you
that
that a
way,
crown.
Evelyn, so I can put the crown on you.
Yeah, let's turn
Hold your
around
head
and
still.
get some shots
Okay,
here.
here we go.
There we go.
Let me get a picture with my phone. Don't go. Uh-oh, I turned it the other way. Let me fix that. Uh-oh, here, I got it. Now, nope, I want a picture of me. There you go. Smile, Evelyn. Give us a big smile. There you go. See, she has teeth. I don't know, I think you probably will.
Don't ask her to dance, because she probably will.
Yeah. Perfect.
I think
Thank
she's
you
more
so much.
worried about me taking her billfold.
Here you go.
There you go, that's smart.
Here we go, Evelyn. Hold on to your hold on to your crown. It's not going anywhere. Oops. Here, let me hold it for you.
Got her?
Yeah, got it.
All right.
I had her while you had her.
Okay.
Okay, so Saturday, we're going to be blessed with a great day, no rain. And Denise has put on something that we're all going to be very proud of. Thank you, Denise.
Denise didn't do it by herself. Denise has a great community team that has done a great, superb job. So thank you, but I want to tell you, there are plenty of people that have put a lot into this event, and it isn't going to rain. It never rains at Fiesta Castle Hills.
without the base. The options chosen were gold accent paint with the custom header of City of Castle Hills. I chose Arabic are the foundation and the landscaped bed. So that is what is to come. Thank you to the Burnhams. Any we will have a plaque. Yes.
As the keeper of the commons, Matt, I solely appoint you to decide where that's going to be. Because I'm sure before it's all over with, you'll have 20,000 different places to put it. So, under ordinance, the mayor has control over the commons. So please find a place that we all agree on.
It's an honor.
Yes, Quinn?
It is.
That's exactly right.
Thank you, Councilman Daggett, for stepping up to
welcome.
the plate. I'll assist you with, I'll show you some choices.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one is the update on the digital billboard RFP. As you know, it went out. These are for the digital billboards on Northwest Military Highway, and it was advertised in the newspaper. Includes, yes, sir.
Thank you, Diane, and I don't know if you've noticed tonight, but and this goes for all the council up here. I want to thank the council for moving us ahead with the streets, for moving us ahead with the drainage. Before the placement of those billboards. But Douglas, Frank, the flooding that has plagued this city for over 50 years, getting in front of that, getting in front of Joe Cryer. When I was down at the zoning meeting the other day, they all knew who you were. And I was happy about that because, you know, it was something that moved it along to where it is today, where we're finally, after 50 years, looks like going to get that settled. So, with that said, let's move into citizens to be heard. And well, we've got a big list tonight. On citizens to be heard, and we'll start at the top. Denise Haley.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Denise Haley. I live at 220 Lundblade Lane, and I've got my Fiesta hat off right now. I want to talk to you just a minute about a couple of residents in Castle Hills who are making a real difference in this community. And the first one I want to tell you about is Bernadette Barnes, who lives on Foxhall Lane. And you might have seen, if you're on Facebook, you might have seen some things about Vote for Gus. Gus is her golden retriever that she has through an organization called Pause for Service. And then after that, it's the organization. And she has done a wonderful, wonderful thing to help enrich these children's lives. She not only goes to Jackson community. And the second person I want to tell you about is Jane Paul. Jane Paul, last year, you know, I was always talking about going and getting involved in the schools, and Jane Paul took me up on it. And she went with me last September to Jackson Keller Elementary, and I introduced her to a first grade teacher who ended up leaving in the middle of the year to have a baby. And through that time, the teacher has not yet returned. Jane has been the constant in that room. And when I go down the hall, the children say, "You're Mrs. Paul's friend." And I'm going, yes, I sure am. But Jane Paul has gone out and done something and given of herself to children who really can use that kind of attention and care and special touch. And they're both just special people, and I thought you and everyone here should know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. The chief and I actually got to get a look at Gus the other day. We were over there visiting the principal regarding some safety issues over on Jackson Keller. And if you do have a Facebook account, I would ask that you get on Facebook and vote for Gus. He's going to win this thing. I got a strong, strong feeling. There, and if you can't find it there, of course, you can go to my page. I'm sure it'll be there. So anyway, other than that, thank you, Denise, for bringing that to our attention. We had a good time, and the kids have a great time, and we really got the appreciation of that. Okay, we're going to move on to the next thing, which that was the only citizen to be heard.
Oh, that was a big list.
If there was anybody else, because we're a tiny bit informal tonight, go ahead and come on up, and if not, we'll move on down the road. Okay. The second one is item number 4, consider the recommendation of Zoning Commission regarding an application from Terry Parr with H-E-B Grocery Company, which is requesting a special use permit as required by Section 50-348 of the Code of Ordinances for property at 6,000 West Avenue, CB 5006B, Block 6-4, which is the H-E-B at Castle Hills, CB 150, for the removal and replacement of an existing fuel kiosk. Diane, will you please explain this item, please?
Yes, sir. Mayor and City Council, Terry Parr has petitioned to request a special use permit in compliance with the City of Castle Hills Code of Ordinances, Section 50-348, Building Area. In the G General Business District, except with a special use permit, each building shall not 100-foot notices were mailed on March 16th. There were 28 of them. Notice of the public hearing was published a single time in the San Antonio Express News on Wednesday, March 16th. The Zoning Commission met on April 5th and voted to request City Council approve the special use permit by a unanimous vote. Mr. Terry Parr is here if he would like to address council.
Actually, my name is Mark Johnson. I'm with Stantec Consulting Services. I'm here on behalf of Terry Parr with HEB. I guess the city manager explained kind of the purpose of this. So just generally, you have the existing fuel station there on West Avenue. It's got the small 100 square foot plus or minus kiosk building that serves as the customer transaction point. That building is the original building that was part of the original fuel station construction. Feet minimum for the zoning, and then will be before the Architectural Review Committee and ultimately have it. Remove and replace it with a newer that has the black louvers screens on the top, on the roof. Those louvered screens screen the air conditioning unit that's on top of the kiosk building. And then the kiosk building itself has a kind of a stucco finish to it, and I have some pictures that I'll show you here in just a minute. If you want to open up the photos. So if you go to first to the existing, these are photos of the existing facility. If you want to just scroll through those, that's the existing key. So this is the building. It's constructed. It's off-site. And if you just scroll through these, it's hard to tell. That surface there is has a kind of a textured stucco. This is one of the steps we need to go through, and appreciate your consideration. Try to answer any questions y'all have. And it's just
But you said move it.
inches difference in dimensions, essentially the same size.
Okay, so if there's no questions, I'm going to go ahead. Is there anybody who would like to speak? Okay. All right, well, at 7:37, I guess we'll close the public hearing. Okay. Do we have
The best thing to do would be to approve the SUP rather than getting into what the zoning commission recommended or didn't. You all know they recommended approval unanimously, so it'd be best to move approval of the SUP requested.
Board of Adjustment? Diane, will you please explain this item, please?
Mayor and council, the Board of Adjustment consists of 5 members who are residents of the city of Castle Hills and who and the city council shall confirm.
Okay. Because I didn't hear. Thank you very much. We haven't had time to vet anything. Okay. So with that said, can I get a motion to table this item? Thank you very much. Okay, all in favor? Thanks. Okay, consider approval of an ordinance number 20160412, Chapter 48, Vegetation of the Code of Ordinances by adopting a new section 48-78 pertaining to an oak tree trimming cycle and renumbering the previous section 4878 through section 4882.
Beetles, and I never can pronounce that right, so I'm only going to do it one time, also known as sap beetles, are primarily responsible for overland spread of oak wilt. As they feed on or tunnel through the spore mats, the beetles often accumulate fungal spores on the surface of their bodies. They carry the spores of the fungus from spore mats on infected trees to wounds. This is the period of time that the beetle is the most active. For this reason, we recommend prohibiting the February through June. So what we want to change it to is oak trimming is prohibited from February to June, and they may not be trimmed during those months because of the increased activity of the beetles and the potential spread of the oak wilt. But we understand that there's going to be emergencies, and so people can get the issuance of a special permit with the approval. Concerns such as hazardous limbs, traffic visibility, or emergency line clearance, to repair damaged limbs from storms or other anomalies, to remove limbs rubbing on a building or rubbing on other branches, and to raise low limbs over a street on sites where construction schedules take precedence.
We've been discussing oak wilt, and as the mayor said recently, the oak trees are one of our most valuable assets here. And it's near and dear to me. I have hundreds of beautiful oak trees, so I see these contractors come in and not paint properly or paint half of them. It just takes one infection on one of these oak trees to get it, and that the live oak is not really the problem. It gets infected, but it is not the host, essentially. The red oaks are. And so the red oak gets a mat during the spring, from my understanding, according to Texas Oak Wilt and talking to, I'm blanking on his name. Who's the Mark Duff, thank you. So the issue is when the red oak gets it, and some of the other varieties of the oak trees, not the live oak. Live oaks don't get a mat under the bark, but the red oak gets the mat under the bark. It smells this fruity smell. Lots of bugs like it, including that, I can't say the word either, nididulid beetle. And it then goes to wounds on live oaks after they've been damaged by lawnmowers or pruning or whatnot. And then that now becomes a new source of spread through the roots of that area. So it doesn't make sense. And the beetle is, these spores aren't around all year long. They're only live during the spring. And the beetle is in its heyday during that time too. So the language is through June, or is it June 30th? It means all of June? Okay. And so the springtime, it's variable, but it just to cover us from people not doing it particularly. Why do we want to risk our beautiful oak trees and have it? So it just, to me, it makes a lot of common sense. There was a contractor came in on my street just recently on a Saturday. They were in and out in a few hours. I didn't see a permit posted, and they were gone. And it just like, I thought, you know what? I hope they did it, because I'm 75 feet down from there. And it just takes that source. So if we see any oak pruning or whatever during these months, then it protects us. Hollywood Park has banned this. Other small cities have done this. And I just think it's a wise thing to do to protect us from that. It makes common sense. And on my street alone, I think there was 4 properties, at least 4 to 6 properties that were trimmed in this past month. The worst time to trim right now while the beetle and the mat are active. And I'm just like, okay, we need to do something about this. People don't know, and so we got to protect our greatest assets. That's why I brought this forward.
Thank you, Matt. Leslie?
I wanted to diatomaceous earth, and it's like a dust, like,
Can you make sure that we get that on the website under
and
comments?
it has no negative impact on your pets.
Okay,
And in fact, they can eat it, and it's good for them.
really?
Insecticide.
Yeah, it's a great insecticide, but it's actually good for their for the intestines.
Thank you, Leslie.
It's the skeletons of prehistoric creatures that are ground up and it just
Right.
shreds the internals of bugs.
Right, but not of dogs or cats, in case they eat it, it's actually fine. So that's the first thing I wanted to bring up. The second thing is, I don't know if anybody's noticed the digital billboard at Hollywood Park City Hall, since you mentioned it, but they announce all these things, and they're right, at the 281, and I happen to go there from time to time, and they have these announcements about, the oak wilt and, what you should do at different times. And I thought for our location, it's something we might want to look into, to have something like that, because you can announce all kinds of things. You can announce meetings, but it really grabs people's attention more than the very still one that we have. And
Good idea.
since we're doing all these digital billboards, we might find out if the company wants to
Great
do one
idea.
for us. Okay. that's
Okay, thank you, Leslie. Let's get a motion on the table in a second, then we'll go into discussion if we need to.
My motion?
Okay, second? Thank you. All right, any discussion, Leslie? You okay? Thanks. Matt?
One of the things, it's red oaks, but it's also stumps of red oaks, and it's also firewood from red oaks. So somebody's got firewood stored in their yard, and it's red oak firewood, that could be a source. So we need to get the firewood. Any of the wood on a red oak needs to be
In this revision, are we going to mandate, if a homeowner trims trees, or if a tree trimming has to be done and it's done by the homeowner during these months, and it's an emergency situation and you were able to concur that, are we going to charge a permit fee for that to the homeowner?
No, we do not charge a permit fee to the homeowner, but it would ultimately be up to council, but I think it would be prudent for them to have to get the emergency permit just like anybody else, because I think a
As is
homeowner
written
is going to
in this
be
ordinance,
just as
correct?
apt, right?
Okay. Now, if it's a contractor that comes in during that time period and the homeowner hires a contractor to take care of this in emergency, I understand there will be a permit fee charged. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
That's correct.
Mr. Paul, did you have any questions or comments regarding the item on the table,
Yeah,
please?
I'd like to really thank Councilman Daggett for doing this work and helping City Hall, because it's important and he's brought a lot to the table. I think the most important thing is we have all this knowledge. How do we disperse it to the citizens? Mail out to the homes, or a postcard or something to tell them, and make it shocking or do something.
Flash on the
Next door.
on the website, and then we will also get more flyers. Texas Forest Service has great flyers and educational material from the Texas Forest Service. And is that what you're thinking about?
But we can get it into the citizens' hands, even if we work with a Boy Scout troop and have them go around and put it in on people's doorsteps or something, because
in the code, how soon after a wound occurs has it got to be covered?
I'm not sure if it's 30 or 45 minutes, but right away.
By giving a permit of 30 days, do you think that might mislead people to think they have 30 days to cover the wound?
It states specifically in the ordinance that you need, after cutting, you need to spray it within 30 to 45 minutes. Not at the end of the day. You don't come back and do it, you do it right then while you're cutting.
How does the city go after the people who come into the city on the weekend and do the various cuttings and leave? How do we go after
At
people like
this
that?
point, with this is the most dangerous time of the year to not spread oak wilt right now. So if it's complete ban on trimming oaks, if we see any oak branch
Passing this as written as an ordinance, but can we further say to the fullest extent of our law as far as repercussion of someone who would do something like this?
Well, the
Wound or per event?
Per violation. I mean, I guess they could try to make multiple violations if there's several branches involved. That's kind of up to the discretion of the peace officer or the police officer, the code enforcement. The state law permits health and safety fines of up to $2,000 per event. But I don't know if this would qualify as a health and safety. That normally means health and safety of human lives, you know.
Counsel, I think thank you, Mr. Brennan. I think that in the future, we should talk about going ahead and moving forward with as strong as we can get on this. This is more than just cutting a tree. This is trees. Can you imagine moving some of these oak trees around with limited income people? I don't even know if I could do it.
Yeah.
Do we have to give 30 days on this, or once we vote on it tonight, for example, if I see my neighbor starting to cut trees, can I go out there and say, wait a minute, you're breaking the law?
I call the cops right then.
Yeah,
Get it on
aggressive
paper.
enforcement is the way you really make this work.
Right.
Several years ago that dumped all the rain. What happens to a homeowner if they're not here and several large branches break? Should the city immediately go in and chop the break and seal the wound even though the homeowner is not there? And if the homeowner is not there and the city doesn't do that, is the homeowner still at risk of being in violation?
Besides, you can't go out in 30 to 45 minutes if there's.
Well, and I'd be very careful about trampling on someone's
Careful too.
property.
I am too.
Now, if it's in the middle of the street like it was last year at this time, and you had that 18-inch oak across Banyan, I believe it was. Matt, you were there? I was there.
Is it a red oak?
No, it was an oak, but it landed in the middle of the street, and fire went out there and had to move
It's
it.
all over my neighborhood.
Yeah. So,
Question.
sure.
All right, Douglas, finished?
Mr. Brennan, does the city have the authority, when they see something like that and people aren't there, to go into the yard and cut the limb and seal the limb?
I don't know, that's marginal as to whether they have the authority to do that. Unless if it was spreading out in the street or something at the same time, they could probably do something about it, but if it's leaning over against the house, I don't know if the city
No,
should
it's
go in there.
broken.
Pardon?
He's asking
I'm just saying if it's broken.
and it's gonna
Well,
be a
but
full-
if the,
But, you know, we went over there and got it off the car and cut it up into small pieces. In fact, I was looking at it today, some of it's still there. Okay,
I have a question.
you sure?
When we give this permit, and I know, Bob has come over here to get them for the people we hire, I've never seen I'm sorry, or we give them a paper and say, these are the regulations that you have to follow.
And we can do that.
This is the time of year, all that thing that we could just have printed up, and then we just attach that to the permit, because I've never seen very much on the permit.
Okay.
So it's important that we alert people that we're taking this seriously.
Right, and we will do that. The permit is generated through Encode, so we're limited on what we can put on that.
Right,
But we will get an information.
I don't expect people to wait for me if I'm,
Oh, stop it.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second on the table on the item. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, council. The next item on is there anyone who wants to pull any of these items? I don't believe it.
move to approve.
So quick on that one.
I'm shocked.
I'm shocked too, but we're moving on along.
Yeah.
Mayor and City Council,
How about them Cowboys?
what a busy month this city has had. There's so many projects are coming to fruition and so many challenges are ongoing. The Bank of San Antonio continues to move right along. Ongoing inspections are being done as necessary. The carports are being installed according to the plan. The targeted completion date is July 2016. There have been some rain delays, but the contractors are catching up. We're allowing them to work on selected Sundays and have had no complaints from the residents. I toured Gladiola a couple of weeks ago, and the residents seemed quite pleased with the construction. The Castle Hills Medical Office Building, located at 1973 Northwest Loop 410, is continuing construction. Drash Contracting and Rawhide Construction Service attempted to move two approximately 500-gallon fuel tanks from 6812 West Avenue. They coordinated with the fire department. As it turns out, when the contractor dug, they discovered the tanks were not running parallel to West Avenue as previously thought. They were running vertical and posed a threat to water line and fire hydrants. We coordinated with DRASH and TCEQ to abandon the tanks and fill them with flowable fill. All of the TCEQ requirements were met, and the wells are now abandoned and filled. We met with the auditors for additional questions and information for the audit year ending December 31st, 2015. We made some additions to our GASB 68 control objectives and user entity controls. We should have a draft of the audit by the end of April and will be presented to council for acceptance in May. The fire personnel have received their new self-contained breathing apparatus, or SCBAs as we call them, and are quite happy. They're in training now and hooking everything up to go digital. I met with the Intergovernmental Relations Manager from SAWS on permitting issues and work being done around the city by the utility. We have a continual problem with permits being pulled ahead of time, and the city finds out about it after the fact, and in many instances, damage has occurred. I'm confident that we have found a solution to the issue, and except in emergency situations, I'm hopeful that a permit will be pulled by SAWS ahead of time. Our sales tax revenue continues to climb. Last year, we collected the same month $90,149, and this year we collected $99,448, and that's just the portion for the city. As reported last month, Councilman Paul and I met with the bond committee for the city of San Antonio to discuss our drainage issues. We took a tour with the committee and representatives from the city of San Antonio, including stormwater engineers and the Public Works Director. Since that time, a project on Anchor Drive for multifamily housing has gone before the Zoning Commission in San Antonio. I worked with Charles Mazuka, who is Councilman Cryer's chief of staff, and Paula McGee, who is Councilman Cryer's appointee to the Zoning Commission behind the scenes. The flooding pictures have been sent to both of them with long conversations about the continual flooding issues we experience. I sent a letter stating the city's position on the proposed zoning, and the mayor went down to the Zoning Commission and told them once again the city's position. Lo and behold, that afternoon, Peter Zanoni, the deputy city manager for the city of San Antonio, called me and had been given my letter and pictures from Councilman Cryer's office. The mayor and I have a meeting with Peter Zanoni and Charles Mazuka in Councilman Cryer's office this week. I will be very well prepared and will voice our position again, as I'm sure the mayor will. And that's all that I have for this report.
Thank you, Diane. The next item is any announcements by City Council. Ms. Winger? Matt? John?
Just want to tag off of Diane's statement. I'm just going to repeat what I said before when you had your earlier statement. I want to, we're looking at a solution for this flooding. We have the majority of data collected that shows where the majority of the floodwater or the stormwater runoff is coming into our city. That's done. That's documented, and I think we can make a very good case. So I think as a city and as a council, we need to consider bringing in additional resources, maybe professional resources, to help make this case and work towards a solution that we can work with San Antonio and also with Bexar County. And what form of that professional resources, I don't have specific ideas on that, but I think if we don't start looking at that, we're not going to continue to make the headway we are. And so I just want to strongly encourage everybody to start thinking about that and what we're going to do to continue to push this issue in potentially more public light. So I would say thanks.
Thank you, John. Mr. Paul, did you have anything? Mr. Gregory, do you have any comments for the public, please? Thank you. All right, with that said, then do I have a motion for adjournment? Thank you. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you very much. And thanks, everyone, for being here this evening.